Right. I think we have time to sneak in another call. Let's talk with Lewis, who has just left religion and is maybe struggling with some internalized bigotry. Is that the case, Lewis?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. I was raised in Jehovah's Witnesses, and a few years ago I left. And since leaving, I've realized, what they taught us about, other, people's sexuality was not true at all, or people's, being part of the LGBT community. And so now, from a rational standpoint, I want to support everyone to live their best life, no matter what that is. But I have this emotional reaction to like if I'm watching TV and there's like a transgender person specifically, it's almost this emotional feeling of disgust. And I don't want to feel that way. I want to be happy that that person is out there living their life, and I want to be happy for that. And from a logical standpoint, I understand that and I want to support that, but I don't know how to change my reaction to that, because for so long we were told that these are terrible people, they're sinful people, and I'm really trying to shake that. And I just wanted to see if you guys had any advice for me on how I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Emily, before I jump in, did you have anything that you wanted to say here?
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind was that you can have patience with yourself while also taking this really seriously as a practice, that you no longer want to experience disgust at the idea that someone else is flourishing in their life. So that might take a little bit of time, but I believe that's absolutely something that your intellectual experience can drive your body sensations on. So there might be some opportunity for you to sit and maybe reflect or write out some of the new ideas that you want to have in mind when you see people who are maybe different than how you thought about people growing up. That's one thing that I think is really important, is focus on what's the new story that you want to be able to tell yourself and bodily experience when you encounter others, right? Because you were trained to this idea of disgust or aversion. And that means that you can be trained out of it with some, willingness to really think what do I want to believe when I see something that I used to think this about, but what's the new story I want to tell, and how do I want to experience that? And with practice, it will happen.
Yeah, I think that's a important thing to highlight, just the relationship with the body and the fact that it's not a good indicator of morality. I feel like that may be another, maybe not purity culture technically, but I definitely think that that's a myth that exists oftentimes in Christian circles, that, well, if queer people are okay, then how come I throw up in my mouth a little bit? And yeah, it's such a ridiculous notion. Longtime viewers of the show will definitely have heard me point out that if we were going to put some sort of moral value or judgment on something like a open heart surgery, then we would probably all agree that, yeah, that's a good thing. The fact that we can actually cut people open and change their insides in order to increase their health and wellness is remarkable. At the same time, if I actually had to stand in an OR and watch that happen, I'd probably throw up. So the fact that your body is having this reaction is not an indication that there's something morally wrong going on. And I think that you can retrain that response through just constant exposure. For myself, it was listening to podcasts like this one, particularly a lot of Savage Lovecast and New York Public Library and some of these other podcasts that were featuring a lot of queer voices and just getting me comfortable and familiar with the queer lifestyle and being exposed to these ideas, not just once, not just twice, not just enough times for me to intellectually appreciate them, but over and over and over until my body's responses were a little bit more kind, a little bit more familiar, and a lot more compassionate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'll check out those podcasts.
Ah, well, glad to hear it. I definitely think that this is something that you can overcome, But I hope that when you find yourself having a knee-jerk reaction, that if you notice yourself being a little bit bigoted or critical of some of these different ideas or some of these different ways of being or of living, that you notice that flaw, that you notice that that thinking might be rigid, that it might be not serving you or might be inappropriate, but that you not beat yourself up over it. You can work consistently and constantly towards change while still being compassionate towards yourself. And that self compassion is actually going to lead towards change rather than anger and avoidance.
Okay.
Best of luck.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I hope that that offers a little bit of insight. And I just appreciate you being willing to do this work of actively deconstructing some of these more bigoted views. And I appreciate you giving us a call tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your input. I think that's very helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. We have a great night.
You too.